Is it recording? That's the question.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. So, hello. Welcome to math class with Miss Leslie and Miss Marker. We weren't really sure what was happening there. We had an issue with the technology. So, the beginning of this video, you can just ignore it. We were just trying to figure some stuff out. The record button was in a weird spot. You don't really need to know that. It's fine. Okay. Anyways, today we are focused on calculator operations. So it's going to be a bit strange. I am actually going to kind of, I guess, lead today's thing only because I found a way to get a calculator to pop up on my screen so you guys could kind of follow along with what we're doing. So yeah, so today we're really not doing anything super new. We're just going to go through and I'm going to teach you guys, if you don't already know how to get this to work on your calculators, because you can do every single thing in matrices using your calculator. Okay, so if you look on the OneNote screen, I have the example that we're going to kind of do. So we have this matrix equation, but now, unlike yesterday's homework, we have a 3x3 matrix that we are going to need to take an inverse of in order to solve our equation here. Now, I'm not going to write anything down. I'm going to do this entire thing in my calculator, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So I know the calculator on the screen looks pretty strange, but all it is it's showing you guys, so it's a TI-84 plus CE, so one of the newer calculators. It doesn't really matter if you have a new calculator or an old calculator, it's going to be exactly the same. I remember seeing a lot more of the CE calculators in class, but I can change it to just a normal TI-84 plus. It takes a second to kind of like change what it looks like. But it's the same thing. So the buttons are the same. I know this looks kind of strange, just kind of go with it. I like the CE look better. It just looks prettier. So we're just gonna go back to that. That one looks kind of funky. It doesn't matter. It's been a weird morning. All right, guys. So anyways, so this is just, so if you're looking, this part is just our screen. This is the body of the calculator over on this side. But yeah, so Miss Margaret's holding hers up. So basically it just took the screen and broke it off separate from the body. All right, so that way you have a bigger screen to look at. I think that was like the main thing that the emulator kind of wanted to do, was make it so the screen was like the biggest part. All right, so we're gonna go through this. So the first thing that we wanna do is we wanna put in our matrix into our calculator. Now, the first matrix that I'm gonna put in, so I'm gonna write, I guess, a little bit over here. So I'm just gonna have to type this. I know, I'm moving it to like right on. Just, you might not see my face. It doesn't matter. It's not looking that good anyways, guys. All right, so here we go. Oh no, all right. So I'm gonna call this matrix A, I'm going to call this matrix B, and I'm going to call this matrix C. All right, just so when I go type this in, you know what matrices that I'm using. Okay, so, all right, here we go. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to want to hit the second button, and then if you scroll down to where you see the x to the -1, right above that it says matrix. So you hit second, and then you're going to hit that x to the -1 button. All right, so the cool thing about this is it tells you exactly what buttons I pushed right here. So it says key press history, so it tells you which buttons that I just clicked on my calculator. All right, so anyways, we're here at the matrix screen. So it looks kind of weird. So we have a bunch of matrices. So these are the different names of all the matrices. What we first need to do is put a matrix in here. So we're gonna scroll over to the edit. So we're gonna just hit sideways, sideways, right? So again, you can see I hit the sideways button twice. All right, and inside matrix A, I'm going to put the matrix A that I labeled over on this in my equation. So I'm going to scroll down to matrix A, I'm going to hit enter. All right, so the first thing you have to do is put the order of your matrix. Remember, it goes row first and then column. So this is a 3x2 matrix. So 3, enter, 2, enter. All right, and if you look down here, it's now created my matrix for me. So now all I need to do is type in my numbers. And it does want you to go row by column. So I need to do my whole first row, so 2, and then -3, and I'm hitting enter after each time. All right, so then 2, 6, and then 6, 1, 6, 1. All right, so I am now done. That is my matrix A. It is a 3 by 2 matrix, and I have now put in all of my pieces. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put matrix B into my calculator. So I'm going to go back to hit second matrix. That's how we're going to get to that screen again. And now we see that matrix A has something assigned to it. It's a 3 by 2 matrix, and if we want to use it, it's all set up just like we had it. All right, but now I want to do matrix B. So I'm going to scroll over to edit, and now I'm going to scroll down to matrix B, and I'm going to do the same thing. So B is a 3 by 3, 3 by 3. All right, and then it's -5, 6, 6, -1, 0, 1, 0, -5, and 0. Cool, so now I have matrix B in my calculator. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna, oops, sorry, that was a fork. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna put my last matrix in there. So I'm gonna go back, second matrix. That brings me to my matrices screen. Again, now you can see that matrix B has that 3 by 3 matrix in there. All right, so I need to go over to edit, and I need to put in matrix C, which is my third matrices right there. So enter. And this is a 3 by 2, so 3 by 2 matrix. And then I have 34, -6, 9, 6, 11, and 1. Okay, so that is the first part of my problem. So I labeled my matrices in my thing that I was looking at, all right? And then I went in and I edited all of those matrices. So I now have all 3 of them in here. So I have matrix A is in there, matrix B, and matrix C. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to solve this problem, right? So hold on, let me fix the lighting in here. It's like really bad. Let me just make my big head block this light. This isn't a professional video, guys. It's fine. Okay, so Miss Margaret's just having a really good time just laughing at my awful video that I'm making right here. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. I might have blueberries in my teeth. No,
It's not awful.
This is why Miss Margaret has been in charge, because when Miss Lastly gets to be in charge, you get a lot of nonsense. And a lot of weirdness. So you should just be grateful that Miss Margaret has been in charge of these videos, because I have no business making videos. Okay, that's beside the point. All right, let's get back to our problem. So now we want to do some math. Now this can get, it can get as complex or as simple as you want it to be. There's a couple cool tricks that I'm going to show you guys when it comes to doing problems like this. So if you're someone who likes to like show your steps, like every time you do something, you want to like write it down, you can definitely do that. It's going to require you to edit your matrices more often, but there is a way that you can do this entire problem without having to write anything down or edit any of the matrices once you put them in there. So we're going to talk about that function on your calculator, because it's actually really neat, but it can mess you up if you forget to use it. So thinking solving wise, all right, so the first thing we know we're going to have to do, since we're trying to isolate that C variable, is we're going to have to subtract matrix A to the other side. So the first thing we want to do is take C minus A, right? Because we're just doing the opposite, so we're subtracting it over. So we need to go to our main screen. So I just want to second quit. All right, so now we're on our main screen here. All right, so the first thing we want to do to solve this equation is I'm going to do matrix C minus matrix A. All right, so I'm going to go into matrix, and I'm just going to select matrix C. So you can either hit the number 3 or you can scroll down to C. So this is matrix C, and I'm just going to do minus, and I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to select matrix A, which is the very first one. All right, so I can now hit enter, And this is a subtraction of those two matrices. So it just subtracted C minus A. Now, here's the next step that's kind of critical if you don't want to lose your work. There's a button down here that says STO. This allows you to store information as something. So we've now created this new matrix. All right, I'm going to call this new matrix matrix D. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the store button, and I'm going to go second matrix, and I'm going to say that this is number 4. So I'm storing this as matrix D. So we have to remember that. So like my work matrix, I'm calling it matrix D. Now, if you don't store this information, so if you don't hit the STO button, so that is right next to the number 1, if you don't hit that button, then your work is going to go away for the next part of your problem. All right, so I'm going to hit enter. So now if I go into matrix, so second matrix, you now see that I have something stored as matrix D. There's a 3x2 matrix in there. That's the C minus A matrix that I just did. All right, so that's kind of an important part. Otherwise, you're going to lose the matrix that you just created. Okay, so I can go out of here. All right, so now what I want to do is I need to find the inverse of matrix B, right? Because what we want to do is our next step. So I'm going to kind of write this down so you guys can see this part. So again, you're going to lose my face. All right. So right now we did minus matrix A, right? So that's gone. We did minus matrix A, right? Bloop. So now we're left with matrix B times C, which is our variable, right? Not matrix C, just letter C, equals what we called this right here. We called this matrix D. So equals this matrix D. So what we want to do is we want to take B inverse and we want to multiply it. Remember, multiplication, the order matters. Since we're multiplying on the left over here, we're going to have to multiply on the left over here. All right, so my final step for solving this problem is I'm going to take B inverse and I'm going to multiply it by matrix D. All right, because B inverse times B gives you the identity matrix, which is just 1. And so then I'll end up with C equals the solution, right? I'll have my answer. Okay, so now we're going to do that on the calculator. And this is actually super easy. All right, so let's pop this bad boy back up. Okay, so here we have our calculator. Okay, so what we're going to do is we need, because really we don't need to worry about B inverse times B. Like you don't actually have to do that. All right, we just need to worry about what's happening on the right-hand side of my equal sign. So I need B inverse. Well, to get B inverse, you don't have to do it by hand. I'm saying you're allowed to use your calculator. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into second and matrices. All right, and we want B inverse. So first I'm going to go to B. I'm going to hit enter. And then guess what I'm going to do, guys? I'm just going to hit this x to the -1 button because that's B inverse. All right, now there's a couple problems on your homework tonight that just want you to find this. So what you would do is you would just hit enter, and that's the inverse matrix. All right, so that's how you get the inverse matrix of something in your calculator. Now, see how we have decimals here? Guess what? Math, enter, enter, and we can turn it into a fraction. So it'll make our matrix into a fraction for us if we have those decimals. Super handy. Math, enter, enter is like the greatest tool of all time when we're trying to deal with decimals and fractions, right? So anyways, that's our B inverse matrix. So what we want to do is we now want to take that and we want to multiply it by matrix D. So I can just say times second matrix, and then I'm going to go to matrix D, or you can just hit number 4, whatever is easiest for you. All right, so I'm taking this, I'm multiplying it by matrix D, enter. And there's my solution matrix. All right, so my variable C in my problem is equal to the 2x3 or 3x2 matrix that's showing up right there on my screen. So that is the solution to my problem. All right, so I know it was a lot of steps. It's a lot of going back to the main screen and then into the matrices screen and doing some stuff in there, but not too bad. It just is, it's a little tedious typing it in on your calculator, and you need to be very careful when you type in your matrix, because the number one thing that people mess up on, I'm sure you can guess, is they type the matrix into their calculator wrong, which obviously you're then going to get the wrong answers. So just be very, very careful when you're typing in your matrices originally into that edit column. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a lot of bad things. Now, a couple other cool things that you can do. So again, we want to practice storing. I can now store this. So say I want to save that solution matrix. I can go in, I can do store, and then I can say I just want to call that's my new matrix D, because it's my solution, right? We were using, oh no, why did I hit that button? I didn't mean to. Second matrix, scroll, 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 enter. So that's my new matrix D. So I can store it anytime. It doesn't have to, and you can store into something more than once. You just have to remember, once you store something new into a matrix, it's going to delete whatever you had previously in there. So just be careful. But yeah, the last thing I want to show you is that there is a lot more that you can do, and we're going to get into this next week. But if you go into second and then back into matrix, the one thing we haven't looked at yet is this math section. So if you scroll over to math, now we didn't need this to do our problem, but it is a nice place to go. So remember yesterday we talked about something called Monday, I think. Yeah, we talked about something called a determinant. Say you have a 3x3 matrix, and for some reason you just wanted to find the determinant of that 3x3 matrix. That's what this DET is. So if you were to hit enter, and then you say you want to find the determinant, you can only find determinants of square matrices. So the only matrix that we can find the determinant of would be matrix B. So second matrix and then B, because it's our only square matrix. It just tells you the determinant. So that's kind of nice. You will definitely use determinants if you do take like a linear algebra course later on in your math career. Like again, matrices isn't something that you're going to need specifically next year for calculus, unless you want to use the matrices to help solve systems of equations, which we'll get into next week. But it is a higher level math kind of concept, and there's a lot that you can do with matrices. So sometimes you might just want the determinant. So for this one, the determinant was 5, right? So it tells us the answer. Another button that's going to come in really handy when we go, so if we go over to math, we're going to use this, if we scroll down, scroll, scroll, scroll. RREF stands for reduced row echelon form, which sounds kind of crazy. You guys haven't really seen row echelon form because it's a technique that we decided to skip over this year because it is kind of advanced. Definitely not something that's going to help you next year in calculus, but it is kind of going to be nice when we're starting to do some systems of equations. So there's a couple techniques that we're going to show you for solving systems next week, and doing this reduced row echelon, so RREF, is one technique that we are going to kind of show you guys for solving a system, because it's kind of nice. So that's kind of a nice button also. But yeah, so there's a lot of cool things that you can do. You can, like this, you can swap rows and matrices. Again, you guys didn't have to learn how to do that, but it is a thing. And so there's a lot of stuff. You can find the identity matrix, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, kind of nice stuff that you can do in here. But for today, the stuff that we went over is pretty much all you need. The inverse button, how to edit and put a matrix in there, and then just how to maneuver around the names row, because that's how you're going to do your applications with them. And something nice also, so say you were trying to do math with matrices and you wanted to, you were just trying to, say you wanted to take matrix B, which is a 3x3, and you wanted to add it to matrix A. Well, matrix A is a 3x2, but say you just weren't paying attention. Look what it's going to tell you. Oh no, you can't do it, right? It's because your matrices have to have the same order in order for them to be added or subtracted. The same thing would happen if you tried to multiply two matrices that didn't have the correct, like, didn't follow the rules, like the first matrix didn't have the same number of columns as the second matrix had rows, it would tell you dimension mismatch and it wouldn't let you do it. So it's kind of nice that it tells you like, hey, you've done something wrong. It's kind of nice. But anyways, that is really it for today. Like that was really all we wanted to go over. You guys know how to find inverses in your calculator. You know how to put your different matrices in there. So that should be enough for you guys to finish your homework for tonight. Hopefully you found this video entertaining and instructive. If not, I apologize. All right. We tried to do the best we could. It's kind of hard to do a walkthrough of calculator stuff when we're not like physically like with you guys, but hopefully this was pretty good. Anyways.
Also, I took notes in my OneNote, and so if you want like things, I wrote things out as best I could, but I took notes in my OneNote notebook, so it's up in mine if you want it.
Excellent. So if I went too fast or if you missed something, Miss Marker does have the notes taken in her OneNote, so they're there for you guys if you need them. Perfect. I'm all done for today. Miss Marker, did you have anything that you wanted to say left?
If you looked at the homework before, I don't know, whenever this video goes up, it was fixed. I got ahead of myself and put some things in that you guys aren't doing until next week. So if you looked at the homework, go relook at it because it won't be changing.
Yeah, definitely. We got a little ahead of ourselves when we did our homework today, but that's okay. We just thought you guys were ready for it, but we wanted to take this week a little bit slow. So if you looked at something and it was like, what was it? Systems of equations. We haven't done that yet. So you can just kind of hold off on that. Go re-look at the worksheet because we are going to make a new one. Cool. All right, guys, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed our video and good luck for those of you who are AP testing. We will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.